University Vice-Chancellor and Principal Zeblon Vilakazi says African universities cannot afford to be left behind in global developments of technology and science. He's the only senior African academic attending the World Economic Forum as a guest of founder Klaus Schwab. Our business editor Xolani Mbanjwa caught up with Prof. Vilakazi.
Newzroom Afrika continues to bring you rolling coverage here in Davos, Switzerland from the World Economic Forum 2023, and we are covering a number of different sectors. And right now I have Professor Zeblon Vilakazi, who is the Vice Chancellor and Principal of the University of Witwatersrand in Johannesburg, to talk to us about his impressions that have brought him here and how things have gone thus far. Professor Vilakazi, thank you very much for your time here on Newzroom Afrika. You have attended a very important session earlier on with the founder of WEF, Klaus Schwab. Tell us a little bit more about the importance of that particular session, as you were part of other chancellors or vice-chancellors from around the world.
First, as you know, that the World Economic Forum covers a lot of data stakeholders from the political to the business and other sectors. And the academic, research, scientific space is one of the key stakeholder sectors that are covered here. So this particular session that we had one this morning and we had one later this afternoon, where vice-chancellors and presidents of universities across the world, and Wits was the only one today represented from the African continent, to discuss, among others, issues related to the disruption of education from the emergence of these technologies. That you've got these fast-moving technologies, and how will the future of teaching and learning be like 10, 15, 20 years from now, because of this fourth industrial revolution, as they were coined here at WEF a few years ago, relates to us. So this is where universities, like all think tanks, have to put their heads together, university vice-chancellors and presidents, to say what are the best sharing of knowledge between us, universities across the north, the United States. We had vice-chancellors from the University of Chicago and many others here in Europe as well. So they are, of course, are there to share their experience. And likewise, from Africa, we have to tell them the impact of some of these technologies and the inequalities that come out, because other nations would have the ability to adapt much quicker because of their technological advantages. So the aim here of why we need to be here as Africans is that this world is connected. We need to know when vaccines are being developed, or new technologies, mRNA technologies, for example, are being developed. We can't be left behind. So we need to know and follow all these developments, technological, biomedical developments, and what are the future challenges to face, that Africans don't get always caught in the back foot of these changes.
And Professor Vilakazi, of course, we are here rubbing shoulders with billionaires, well-heeled people back home. There is no power when it comes to load shedding, as you know. But that's just it. That's the importance of being here. It's better to be in the room than to be outside having things being discussed about you. And when it comes to innovation, it is something that could actually lead to solutions when it comes to our blackouts that we are currently experiencing and have been experiencing for over a decade back home.
Actually, your point is very important, because, Mr. Mbanjwa, because the United Kingdom had blackouts in the 1970s, right, during a strike. The United States had a major blackout in year 2000, California, with Enron. So these things are not unique, but obviously we need to find means of ensuring that they don't become what they are now in South Africa. So what are the learnings that you can pick up from here? Number one is there is a rapid change in how we generate electricity. The days of one big company generating electricity, as you know, in the whole world, all these companies now don't just rely on one source. In our case, we rely primarily on coal, which we will need for years to come. So among the other topics that were discussed here, and we discussed quite deliberately, was how to transition in a way that obviously make sure that you don't lose jobs and you create new jobs as you explore potential future sources of energy. Given the fact that, in fact, now I'm going to be attending a session on nuclear fusion. And nuclear fusion is a new kind of emerging, maybe in the next 10, 15, even 20 years, technology of how to process clean energy, which is a base load energy, using a different form of nuclear technology than the one that we've had in the past. And it's quite clean compared to the nuclear fusion one, which we've all used. So therefore, you see, that's where one actually gets to see some of the top experts, Nobel Prize winners. You mentioned billionaires, but my world is more fascinating by Nobel Prize winners. Of course, we need funders to actually sustain this, industrialists, to see how we can collaborate and work together in solving these problems that make sure that we grow, industrialize, and have shared wealth without impacting on our economies. And I think those solutions have to come from universities and research centers in partnership with all the sectors in government, in the business, and in the non-governmental space.
Professor Vilakazi, thank you very much for your time, sir, this evening here on Newzroom Afrika at the World Economic Forum. It's quite an important discussion to be had. We do have the solutions at home, and Professor Vilakazi is here to actually engage with other vice-chancellors of universities from around the world in order not to have African universities left behind in the world of innovation and technology. For Newzroom Afrika on Channel 405, I am Xolani Mbanjwa in Davos, Switzerland.
Correctional Services Commissioner